1. The gold codes. The actual nuclear launch codes carried by the US president. They are printed on a plastic card called the biscuit. The codes are alphanumeric and change daily. The president does not memorize them. He keeps the biscuit in his jacket pocket at all times. 2. The biscuit. The plastic card that contains the gold codes. It is called a biscuit because it is about the size and shape of a cracker. The president carries it in his coat pocket. If the president dies, the vice president gets his own biscuit immediately. 3. The nuclear football. The black leather briefcase carried by a military aide who follows the president everywhere. It weighs about 45 pounds. Inside is a satellite communication system, a list of pre-written war plans, and authentication codes. It does not actually have a launch button. 4. The sealed authentication system, SAS. A system that verifies the president's identity before any launch order. The president reads a 2-letter code from the biscuit. The military confirms it matches their daily code. Only then does the launch process continue. 5. The emergency action message, EAM. The coded message sent from the president to nuclear forces. It contains the war plan and authentication codes. It is sent via secure radio and satellite links. It looks like a random string of letters and numbers to anyone intercepting it. 6. The Permissive Action Link, PAL. An electronic lock built into every US nuclear weapon. It requires a 6 to 12-digit code to arm the weapon. Without the PAL code, the nuclear weapon cannot detonate, even if dropped or stolen. The codes are changed regularly. 7. The PAL code. The specific numbers entered into a nuclear weapon to arm it. These are different from the gold codes. The president does not know these numbers. Only launch crews at silos or bomber bases enter them. They are sealed in double-locked safes. 8. The Enable code. A shorter code used by submarine launch officers. It is entered before the full launch sequence begins. It unlocks the missile tubes. Submarines have 2 separate officers who must each enter half of the code. 9. The Silo Turn Key. The physical key used by missile launch officers in underground silos. 2 officers must turn their keys simultaneously. The keys are far apart, so one person cannot reach both. The turn must happen within 2 seconds of each other. 10. The 2-person rule. Not a code, but a system that requires 2 authorized people to launch any nuclear weapon. Each has half the codes or half the keys. Neither person can launch alone. This prevents one crazy person from starting a nuclear war.
11. The Russian Cheget, Russia's version of the nuclear football. It is a briefcase carried by the Russian president. It contains launch codes and communication equipment. It has 3 buttons. 1 button launches, 1 cancels, 1 tests the system. 12. The Chinese nuclear briefcase. China's system is highly secret. The president carries a briefcase called the black box. Codes are transmitted via a special military network. China requires 3 different commanders to authorize a launch, not just the president. 13. The perimeter system, dead hand. A Soviet-era automatic nuclear launch system. If it detects a nuclear attack and no response from Russian command, it automatically launches remaining missiles. Americans call it the dead hand. It has no code. It is fully automatic. 14. The UK Prime Minister's letter. British nuclear submarines carry sealed letters from the Prime Minister. The letters contain what to do if the UK government is destroyed. Options include retaliating, surrendering, or going to an allied country. No codes, just handwritten orders. 15. The French alert codes. France uses a 2-part system. The president has a briefcase called the Jupiter. Launch codes are stored inside. Submarines and bombers require separate authentication. France does not use a 2-person turnkey system for silos. 16. The Indian launch authorization. India uses a triple key system. The Prime Minister, Defense Minister, and military chief must all agree. Codes are kept in separate sealed envelopes. Each person enters their code into a different machine. 17. The Pakistani launch codes. Pakistan keeps its codes with the National Command Authority. The Prime Minister and military chief must both approve. The codes are changed every 24 hours. Nuclear weapons are kept disassembled, so codes only matter after assembly.
18. The cancel code. A code that stops a launch in progress. The president can send a cancel code after issuing a launch order. This is rarely discussed publicly. Submarines have a short window to cancel. Missiles in the air cannot be stopped. 19. The failure code. A special code used if communication is lost. U.S. bombers and submarines have prearranged failure codes, meaning assume the worst. If the crew receives this code and then loses contact with command, they may launch pre-planned targets. 20. The test code. Special codes used for drills and simulations. They look like real launch codes, but do not arm any weapons. Crews practice with test codes monthly. The system cannot tell the difference between test codes and real codes until the final step. 21. The authorization code, NATO. NATO has a shared code system for U.S. nuclear weapons stored in Europe. Host countries, Germany, Turkey, Belgium, Netherlands, Italy, do not have the codes. U.S. personnel keep the codes. The host country provides only the base and aircraft. 22. The presidential succession code. If the president is killed, the vice president receives the codes immediately. If both die, the Speaker of the House gets them. The line goes President, VP, Speaker, President pro tempore of Senate, then Cabinet in order. Each has their own biscuit ready. 23. The authenticator card, military. The card carried by every nuclear launch officer. It has daily authentication numbers. It also has a duress code, a special number the officer enters if they are being forced to launch against their will. That alerts command of a problem. 24. The no-code launch, last resort. In extreme situations, some nuclear forces can launch without codes. U.S. submarines have a sealed safe with backup procedures. Russian Dead Hand has no code at all. These exist so a decapitation strike cannot destroy all ability to retaliate.